We're going to be talking politics here, and let's put together some context. Washington politicians taking big hits in polls on day 11 of the shutdown. A new Gallup poll shows just 18% of Americans are satisfied with the way the nation is being governed. That is an all-time record low. An NBC Wall Street Journal report finds 60% of Americans would vote to replace every single member of Congress. And yes, that is a record high. The Associated Press has the president's approval rating at 37%, a record low. Congress's approval also scraping the bottom, a 5% approval in the AP survey. It is no wonder that Gallup finds 60% of all Americans believe a third major party is now needed. That is the highest percentage ever. Our first guest tonight says it's the person out front taking the lead on issues that takes the heat, which explains the polls hitting Republicans hard. Joining us, Congressman Doug Collins. He's a member of the Oversight and Government Reform Committee, the Judiciary Committee. He also serves as an Air Force Reserve chaplain. He served in Iraq, and Congress, good to have you with us. Let's start with the negotiations that apparently aren't, in the view at least of Jay Carney at the White House. Are you optimistic, because those talks are going on now, that we might see something between now and tomorrow morning?
Good evening, Lou. I believe that you have to be optimistic in this, in this business right now in Washington, D.C. People have a right to be frustrated. They have a right to be frustrated with the inability for people to sit down. They have a right to be frustrated with a president who said, I will not negotiate. They have a right to be frustrated with a Senate Majority Leader who said, I won't accept anything that's being sent over. I think what we have, though, is an optimism that we are continuing to work hard to try and find solutions, and I think that's what Americans expect of us. But right now they're frustrated, and I sense their same frustration, because I'm frustrated as well.
They, though, for the first time in record numbers, are saying the country's headed in the wrong direction. The president has the lowest approval rating of his presidency. The Congress, I mean, to look at that 5%, I can't even imagine what you think when you look at the institution of which you were an important part, and only 5% of the country thinks you guys are worth a lick.
Well, it is disturbing, and it is disturbing in the sense that we have so many things going on right now, and people are rightfully frustrated. I think the thing that we have to do is during the middle of crisis, during the middle of controversy, and in my previous life as a pastor, in my previous life as an attorney, I've always found that people are most frustrated when they perceive nothing is being done. But when they see that we are looking at it, when we do come to a resolution, when we do try to put forward things that will work, and I believe work in the favor of the American people, then we'll see what happens in the rearview mirror. Right now, we're in the middle of a tense negotiation in which the media has portrayed everything that we're doing up here in really an interesting light, in the sense that nothing is done and no compromise is happening. They just don't understand that.
Who doesn't understand?
The American people, and rightfully so, because what they envision is nothing going on.
Let me, if I may say, I beg to differ with you. Mm-hmm. I think these polls reflect an American public who understand very well that your Congress is poorly led, that your members are not sincere and working hard in the nation's interest, that the president has the gall to say he will not negotiate. He is a man, as we will document later in the broadcast, who has very little to crow about and should be expressing, I think, in sizable quantities, modesty and humility rather than arrogance. I think the American people have got Washington pretty well figured out. Don't you really?
Well, Lou, you and I agree, actually. That's not what I was saying. I agree that they understand what they're seeing now, and they see it as bad. I think what we've got to look at here is moving forward and moving past the inaction that we've had over the last few weeks, and look forward to a positive solution that they can then see that work was being done on their behalf. Right now, they're exactly right, and I agree with you. They do get what's happening. They do not understand why we can't get along.
I want to turn to the death benefits for our service members, to the decision by the Department of Defense to stop chaplains from celebrating Mass, from stopping religious services during the shutdown. You have initiated legislation, introduced legislation to reverse that. What kind of government have the American people been handed here?
Well, I think right now it's one that doesn't work, and it's very problematic. I cannot believe that the Secretary of Defense and through the folks at the Department of Defense would deny these benefits and then look outside to and accepting help from a private charity, which greatly stepped forward to say,
right,
we're not going to let this happen. And then when you take away contract chaplains who have the ability to go on and provide religious expression, these are just, I mean, it's disturbing when the First Amendment provisions become a non-essential part of our government. Then we've got a real problem, and that has been very disturbing to me what the Chuck Hagel and the Department of Defense is doing right now.
Disturbing. I think it's outrageous, and I cannot recall a time when in the United States military that a priest, a chaplain, could not celebrate Mass, that any denomination would be denied an opportunity to serve his flock and to address the concerns of the faithful. I mean, this is beyond outrageous. I have heard so little protest from the religious community, from churches in this country. I am stunned by it.
Well, I have a better word for it. It's called appalling. And I think what we've got to do, and that's why one of the reasons that I have tried to talk about this as much as I have, is because that I want to break through the other clatter that is going on here in Washington. And I want to make sure that the churches and the faith groups in our great country understand what is happening here. And our active duty personnel, our active duty chaplains are doing the best they can, but our contract chaplains are there for a reason. They serve areas in which the chaplains who are there cannot serve due to faith group differences. We've got to make sure that that is a protected right. And it's just appalling that the Department of Defense still hides behind a contract. When did a contract or when did a monetary value ever get put before the First Amendment? That's the question that I have. And I think people, if they understood that, would be as appalled as you and I both are.
I think when it occurred was when someone decided to make their views preeminent over those of the Constitution and the traditions of this country, and also decide respect for faith and for religion. And for it to happen in our military, I find doubly disgusting. Congressman, thank you.
I agree.
I appreciate you being here. Come back and let's continue the conversation. Congressman Doug.
We'll look forward to it. Thank you for letting me be here tonight.
Thank you. On Wall Street today.